Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're going to talk about the 4 events that can change the housing market in 2021. Before we jump in, make sure you hit that subscribe button for new videos each week. Number 1, the moratorium. Before we talk about moratoriums, we have to talk about inventory. Inventory is the supply of homes or the number of homes available for sale on the market currently. When 2020 started, much of the US was already experiencing a low supply of homes. This was exacerbated when the pandemic hit because most people who would normally put their homes on the market during spring and summer either delayed putting their home on the market or decided not to at all. This made the supply even tighter. Then in March, we've seen something that we've never seen before, a moratorium and a national mortgage forbearance program. Due to the economic impact of the virus, homeowners were allowed to pause payments on their mortgages without having to worry about penalties. And there was also an eviction moratorium that started at this time as well. At the time that this video was recorded, Congress just passed a new stimulus bill and has allowed the moratorium to last until the end of January 31st, 2021. This is different because we have seen the moratorium extended multiple times throughout 2020 and for multiple months, but this time it was only extended 1 month. The moratorium is extended till January. Biden has said that he would make a new stimulus bill the #1 priority when he comes into office. I would not be surprised if it was extended multiple months, but we'll see. According to Visual Capitalist, 17 million Americans are not up to date on their mortgage or their rent. It is estimated that about 5.7 million Americans would lose their home within the first 2 months after the moratorium ends. When these moratoriums end, some states can end up seeing a huge increase in supply. As more homes enter the market, we can expect prices to start to go down. There are different metro areas that are higher risk for foreclosures and evictions. This is based on the unemployment numbers that they have, as well as the state's policies on evictions. The top 5 metros that have the highest risk for eviction and foreclosure: Houston, Miami, Chicago, and Dallas. Supply is not the only thing that drives the price. Demand really does. So what happened in 2020 after everything seemed to pause? Why did demand go up so quickly? That brings us to number 2, interest rates. In 2020, interest rates were cut to near zero after multiple cuts near the end of 2019. It's never been this cheap to borrow money, so many people took advantage of that. We saw single-family home prices breaking records across the country. The lower interest rates created demand to rise, and with the low supply, that created prices to increase to record levels. So what can we expect from interest rates in 2021? Well, the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, has been very clear he does not want to have negative interest rates. He also mentioned multiple times that low interest rates are here to stay. No one knows exactly what would happen for sure, but for the sake of this video, what happens if interest rates began to rise? Well, if interest rates began to rise, we would experience a decrease in demand because it's going to cost more to borrow money for a mortgage. So less people are going to be out buying. And when less people are out buying, that means demand is going to decrease. And when the demand decreases, of course, the price decreases. I think you're following. Number 3, Joe Biden's first-time home buyer tax credit program. Joe Biden's first-time home buyer tax credit program. Hopefully they come up with a better name for that. Joe Biden has mentioned during his campaign that he would like to create a program for first-time home buyers and give them up to a $15,000 tax credit on their first home. Now, there's not so much detail on this. He pretty much only mentioned it, but let's say it did happen. The key word here is up to a $15,000 credit. We have seen similar programs like this before in 2008 with George W. Bush. It was called the Housing and Economic Recovery Act. This act gave up to 10% of the purchase price and capped it at $7,500. Like I said, right now it's still too early to tell if this would actually happen, but let's say it did, right? So what would happen if this got passed? Well, I think this would be a huge deal. Many people would take advantage of the credit, and many first-time homebuyers who were kind of on the fence would enter the market. I think it would create a quick spike in the prices of homes because that's an increase in demand. Number 4, vaccine and COVID numbers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, we have seen a huge shift of buyers moving towards the suburbs. People didn't want to be in the cities, near people, using public transportation. Many of the restaurants have closed. All the things that made cities awesome, all of a sudden, were not the safest places to be for some people. The vaccines just started to get rolled out now. As more people become vaccinated and we see numbers of COVID hopefully decrease, we may see people return to the city. And I know that a lot of people are working from home and they'd rather have the space. I think in the end, a lot of people are gonna realize that they don't wanna commute from home and they're gonna end up wanting to live back in the city. A lot of people don't necessarily like to work from home all the time, and a lot of people don't like traffic and commuting. So I think there is a chance that we can see buyers return back to the city once things start to get a little bit more under control. I think there's excellent opportunities in the city right now. That's for a later video. I'm gonna throw in a 5th event that could happen. I can't really identify it. I'm gonna call it the Black Swan. It's an event that we can't really identify, but would have a massive impact if it were to happen. So we don't know. It could be anything, right? It could be a war, it could be another virus, it could be the corporate credit bubble finally bursting. It's just the idea that sometimes as much as we prepare, we can't be prepared enough. And some stuff are out of our control and we just gotta roll with that. So to recap, we have multiple factors that could really change the landscape of the housing market next year. We have whenever the moratorium possibly ends, the interest rates, a possible tax credit plan, and vaccine and COVID numbers. Those are my 4 events that could help shape the 2021 housing market. What do you think? You think there's anything that I missed? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next video.